Hey, what's up, gang? Ken here from the Retro Toy Escapades channel in Malaysia. I hope that everyone's doing good out there. And if you're tuning in, I hope that you've been enjoying the content on the channel and also the reviews of the vintage Masters of the Universe mini comics that I've been covering here. Tonight, I'm looking at the ultimate Battleground. Now, this here is the mini comic that comes with the rarest MOTU toy in existence, the Eternia playset. So both the playset and this mini comic that comes with it are extremely rare and hard to find and to own for a good price. There's only one person I know who's ever seen the complete Eternia playset with his own eyes. A buddy of mine who caught it at a toy show in Jakarta, Indonesia, maybe about 8 years ago. Now, just to see it in person must have been a moment that would last for all eternity. Or Eternia. Now, the mini-comic starts with tremors being felt all across Eternia. The Masters are scrambling to save the helpless citizens from a wave of earthquakes. Now, in all the commotion, we also notice some of the newer characters making an appearance in the comic, such as Rio Blast and Extender. Pretty cool. So the source of all this commotion are the evil rulers Skeletor and King Hiss, who have combined their forces and are causing a trail of destruction across Eternia in order to raise Eternia? Well, yeah, or rather the three towers of Eternia. Okay, so this story attempts to give us some insight into just what exactly the Eternia playset is all about. Now, I must say, I like what they did here in having the full credits page only appear on page 3, alright? It's very cinematic. It's like when a movie starts and you don't get the credits straight away. Instead, you get a brief sequence or an intro first in order to set things up, and then you get the movie title on screen. You know, back in the 80s, this style of storytelling wasn't always a common practice in movies, okay? So to see it in a comic book, especially a mini comic, well, that's just pretty stylish. Anyway, the two evil rulers succeed in the mission to raise the three towers, and soon the sorceress calls upon He-Man for help, explaining to him that a grave danger is soon to befall upon Eternia. Now, we get a bit of mythology shared with us here, and that's fantastic. It's always great whenever we learn something new about the franchise that we had no idea existed before. So the sorceress begins to explain to He-Man that once, a long, long time ago, there stood Grayskull Tower. Okay, apparently it wasn't just a castle, but there was also a Grayskull Tower, and this was a symbol of good. And alongside it, there stood a Viper Tower. Coincidentally, also the motif for Snake Mountain, but yeah, there was a tower called the Viper Tower, and this was a symbol for evil. Now, between the two towers stood a third tower, the most important of the towers, and this was called the Central Tower. Now, I don't know why this tower got the most boring name compared to the other two. I mean, one's called Grayskull Tower, the other one's called Viper, but the one in the middle is called the Central Tower. It's just so freaking basic, okay? It's like whatever, we might as well just call it the Middle Tower, alright? But apparently, both the Grayskull and Viper Towers are emanating some kind of force, okay? Like Grayskull's emanating the force of good, and Viper Towers emanating the force of evil. Don't ask me how the towers are able to do that, but, that's what they're doing. And the Central Tower is drawing upon both these power sources, all right, both the good and the bad, and it acts as some kind of a balance, I suppose. But then apparently the good and bad powers, good and evil powers, form the ultimate power. That's right. Now, apparently, and according to the sorceress, Eternia was presided over by some sort of an ancient race of people known as the Ancients, okay? And these ancients were afraid of the power of the ultimate power, all right, that was generated by the Central Tower. Now, the thing is that, weren't they the ones that probably built these towers? I mean, how did these towers come to be, and how did they become imbued with all these powers, all right? Weren't these the work of the ancients? It seems that the same race of people, the ancients, were now afraid that this power would fall into the hands of their greatest enemy, King Hiss. Okay, King Hiss, apparently leader of the Snake Men, apparently the greatest threat to all of Eternia. Not even Skeletor, not even the threat of Hordak. King Hiss apparently is the most evil and feared power in all of Eternia. But actually, that probably seems about right because in all the depictions I've seen of King Hiss, either in the comics or even in the cartoons, this guy is pretty much totally badass. Okay, he's not even a clownish buffoon like Skeletor can be at times. All right, this guy is pretty much the real deal. But then it says here that according to the sorceress, the ancients got together and they sort of like managed to banish the towers. Okay, they managed to sink the towers far beneath the earth. All right, to hide them from King Hiss, and then later, even later, they were actually able to even banish King Hiss himself. Okay, see, that's just a bit dumb, right? Wouldn't they? Wouldn't it be better if they had just banished him first and then, made the towers disappear or something like that? Because now apparently everything's come back. Okay, King Hiss is back. The towers are freaking back too. What was the point of keeping any of these things hidden? All right. So yeah, I mean, it just seems that his power just seems a bit misplaced. Okay, the ancients apparently are so freaking powerful that they can banish King Hiss. They can in fact hide a supreme source of power, such as the three towers. Okay, they apparently are so freaking powerful. When the hell do they even have to be afraid of? Okay, why not just leave everything as it is, and just fight freaking fight the fight when it comes to you. Okay. Anyway, they seem to have done all that work, like I said, for nothing because now Skeletor and King Hiss are storming the three towers together with the Snake Man. So Skeletor decides to take the central tower while King Hiss is in the Viper Tower and the rest of the Snake Men are spread out around Grayskull Tower just to look out for any signs of masters turning up. Now, Tongue Lashor actually looks really ridiculous in a couple of panels here. Like a baby snake face. This guy is supposed to be like a fearsome snake man, but he comes off more like a childish buffoon. Here, Skeletor just leaves him trapped in the mouth of the lion face thing in the central tower. Okay, poor guy. King Hiss makes it into the Viper Tower, and it's kind of weird to see all this high-tech technology just lying around there, like computer consoles and panels and things like that, and monitors, because this thing is supposed to be something that was like buried underneath the sands of time for like aeons. And I don't know how time works in a place like Eternia, okay? But something that was supposed to be from a very, very long time ago, I mean, I'm just saying that it just seems a bit odd that it would have such high-tech looking equipment, all right? Now, naturally, King Hiss does intend to betray Skeletor and take all the power for himself. But just then, he happens to be spying through one of the periscopes in Viper Tower and he spots He-Man on his way over to crash their party. So he decides that, hey, I just better give Skeletor a little heads up about this. Now, the interesting thing about this panel here is that it's the last time in the story that we see any sign of King Hiss. I'm serious, man. After this, it's like the guy just straight up vanishes. Okay, he just slithers out of the story, like a snake. It's like the writers completely forgot about him and just focus on the final battle between Skeletor and He-Man. Now over to Skeletor, and apparently just by stepping into the central tower, he was able to obtain the ultimate power. The power that was drawing upon the sources from both Grayskull and Viper Tower. And this is pretty interesting because apparently all you need to do is just freaking step into the tower, and now Skeletor has all the power in Eternia. And my question is just that, is this power more powerful than the power in Castle Grayskull? I mean, is it enough now for him? I mean, can he finally stop trying to enter Castle Grayskull? But wait, apparently the power only works if you're in the central tower, right? So if you left the tower, then are you back to your basic old self? I mean, this thing kind of needs some thinking through, I think. Anyway, Skeletor then uses his newfound power to start energizing the tower's blaster gun weapon to launch a ferocious attack on the approaching He-Man. But seriously, this is just product placement for the playset. Okay, I mean, with so much power, why would he even need the weapons platform here? He can probably just shoot lightning bolts out of his hand, right? Anyway, He-Man is on the monorail. Another piece of product placement for the toy playset. He's on this monorail and he gets blasted off it and falls through the sky. But just then, he's rescued. He's rescued by one of MOTU's most ridiculous looking characters. Snout Spout! That's right. This elephant firefighter just happens to be passing by. I mean, he's probably back up, but what a coincidence. Okay, he just turns up out of the blue in the Blaster Hawk here. And then he doesn't stick around for the final battle, though. He just transports He-Man to it. So now it's time for He-Man and Skeletor to face off for the ultimate battle in the ultimate battleground. Now Skeletor thinks that he has the upper hand, but he doesn't realize that once He-Man steps into the tower as well, then he gains the ultimate power too. Now seriously, this would work on anyone, right? I mean, maybe even Stinkor? Or what if Stinkor's nauseous odors were empowered, okay, with the ultimate power? Think about that, man. You know, the whole planet would be comatose. So He-Man manages to overpower Skeletor and win the day, even though both of them are equally superpowered. Alright, but He-Man wins simply because, in his own words, the power of goodness would always triumph over evil. Message! Now, I just have one question though. You know, both of them are being powered by the central tower, okay? And the central tower is supposed to be an in-betweener between good and evil. So whatever power is being generated, I suppose, will be the same amount, okay? So a fight that takes place by two superpowered beings, you know, that are being powered up by this force, wouldn't it just result in a draw, okay? You know what? Whatever, all right? Now, the story ends with He-Man lost in thought as he realizes that the emergence of these three towers have turned Eternia into the ultimate battleground. That's it right there, guys. They brought the whole thing full circle, from the title of the story to the very last words said in the story. Okay, so that, you know, it's firmly there in your mind that this thing is about the ultimate battleground. Now, this story actually was kind of like all over the place for me. Now, I like that they were trying to introduce a backstory element to this whole playset of Eternia, okay? Because the thing about the Eternia playset is that I always just thought that it represented a city in Eternia, okay? I thought it was just like the main hub of Eternia, all right? Because you had this monorail thing and you had these giant towers and stuff like that. I did always wonder about, hey, how come there's like an evil looking tower there right smack in the middle of Eternia? And I just felt that, well, maybe they just needed a place that represented, you know, where the bad guys would hang out, okay? But I just felt like the execution of the story, in the way that they tried to present the towers as something more, it kind of fell flat, all right? It would be great if you just read this thing at the back of the toy packaging box, like a brief synopsis that told you that, okay, Central Tower did this, and the Viper Tower and the Grayskull Towers did that. But when they tried to explain it all in a story like this, I felt that there's just too many plot holes in there. Okay, that's why I kept pointing it out. Now, what I did find really impressive was the artwork. The artwork being done by Bruce Timm. Fantastic, phenomenal work as always. And in fact, the colors in this particular story are done by Charles Simpson. The colors really spring out at you. Everything just looks so bright and dynamic. The whole presentation visually is fantastic. It's just where the story, the story didn't really live up to what I was expecting. But hey, let me know what you thought of the review. Let me know if you've ever read this story for yourself, prior to this. And yeah, leave me some comments below, and I'll catch you guys again real soon with more reviews. Thanks, everyone.